Hello and welcome to Stories of Science. Here, we look back on humanity's long journey to understand the world. The questions, the failures, and the breakthroughs that slowly changed how we see the universe and ourselves. We tell science as stories. How Joseph Thomson's budding model revolutionized science and changed our world forever. Ever wonder how some people in history seem to have superpowers, like they've hacked the very fabric of reality? Well, let me introduce you to one of the earliest physics hackers, Joseph Thomson. Yep, you heard me right. This guy didn't need a cape or a lab full of fancy gadgets. All he needed was a simple cathode ray tube and a wild idea that would change everything. Imagine this, it's the late 19th century, and the atom is still the undisputed heavyweight champion of science. No one dared challenge it. Then along comes Thomson, who, with one of the most underwhelming pieces of equipment imaginable, starts peeling back the layers of the atom like it's nothing. The result? The discovery of the electron, a tiny, invisible speck of matter that would completely blow apart everything scientists thought they knew about the universe. Born in 1856 in Manchester, Thomson didn't exactly grow up in a scientific hotbed. His family wasn't wealthy, and his dad was a businessman, not exactly the type to hand down Nobel Prizes. But that didn't stop Thomson. His parents valued education, and while other kids were playing games, Thomson was out there discussing Newton's laws around the dinner table. Picture this, no homework? Just good old family debates on physics, while the roast chicken cooled in the corner. It wasn't all smooth sailing, though. By the time Thomson made it to Cambridge in 1870, he was just another student with a passion for numbers. Nothing glamorous, right? He earned his degree in math, but soon realized something was missing. Let's face it, who wouldn't get tired of staring at equations all day long? So, what did he do? He switched gears and dove into the world of physics, where he could chase the wild, unknown edges of reality. It was like moving from a dusty library into a thrilling adventure story. At first, you might think, didn't he make a mistake? But let me tell you, Thomson knew exactly what he was doing. It was a decision that completely redefined his path. From the boring math nerd to a revolutionary in the field of physics, Thomson wasn't about to settle for solving problems on paper. He wanted to uncover the fundamental mysteries of the universe. And that's the thing with science, it's not always about being born a genius or having a golden ticket. Sometimes, it's about following that burning curiosity, refusing to give up, and pushing through what seems like an ordinary classroom to reach the extraordinary. Thomson wasn't born with fame, and yet, his persistence in Cambridge's labs gradually catapulted him into the limelight, proving that even the most average beginnings can lead to world-changing discoveries. But let's get to the real fun part, the lab. Thomson wasn't just some desk-bound theorist. Oh no. His lab was more like a battlefield, a high-energy workshop where he went toe-to-toe with nature itself. Picture it: flickering lights, hums of electric currents, and Thomson, armed with nothing but his wits and a cathode ray tube, battling what he would soon discover to be the electron. His experiments weren't just tests, they were more like a thrilling action movie, where every spark of electricity was a step closer to unraveling the mysteries of matter. The cathode ray tube seemed like an odd tool for such a mind-blowing discovery, but here's where Thomson's genius came in. As the rays moved through the tube, he noticed something odd. These rays weren't just light, they had mass. Tiny, almost invisible particles, which seemed to defy everything that had been known about atoms. Can you imagine the moment when it clicked for him? This wasn't just a random occurrence. This was the discovery of a new, previously invisible particle, the electron. And with that, the very idea of the atom was turned upside down. It wasn't an instant triumph, though. No, Thomson didn't sit back and wait for the world to notice. He dove deeper, working tirelessly with each new experiment, wrestling with the unknown like an explorer navigating uncharted territory. You can almost picture him, lab coat on, taking on these invisible monsters with his tools, fighting his way through one hypothesis after another. It was like a science version of an action movie, where every round of experiments brought him closer to understanding the secrets of the atom. Eventually, Thomson made it clear to the world, hey, that unchallengeable atom you thought you knew? It's not so solid after all. It's a lot more complex, and it's time we rethink the whole thing. With this simple but groundbreaking statement, he essentially opened the floodgates to the modern understanding of physics. Sure, he didn't have the cool gadgets or superhuman powers, but in a way, he was a kind of science hacker, bending the rules of the natural world with his sharp mind and relentless curiosity. So the next time you think about scientists, remember this: they're not just sitting in offices crunching numbers. They're in the lab, fighting their own version of the invisible monsters, and sometimes, like Thomson, they change the world in the process. Imagine this: every experiment is like an adventure, full of twists and turns. Sometimes, the data makes no sense, equipment breaks down, and that mysterious little particle becomes even harder to catch. But Joseph Thomson? He didn't back down. Instead, he charged ahead, battling through each challenge and slowly unlocking the secrets between atoms and electrons. At first, Thomson didn't have all the answers. His journey wasn't smooth sailing. He went through trial and error, painstakingly collecting data, one experiment at a time. But every test was like an episode of a cliffhanger-packed series, no perfect ending, just a relentless march forward. Then, one day, he made the discovery that would change the world: the electron. Imagine that: a tiny, invisible particle that was hiding inside the atom, completely altering the scientific community's understanding of matter. One little electron, and suddenly, everything we thought we knew about the atom was called into question. But don't think Thomson stopped there. No way. He kept pushing the boundaries of science, shattering the idea that atoms were unsolvable mysteries. He threw open the doors to exploration, turning atoms from these abstract, unapproachable concepts into something tangible, something we could study and manipulate. His work didn't just reveal a new particle, it opened the floodgates to a new way of thinking. Thomson's discovery wasn't just some neat academic achievement, it was a game-changer for the entire field of physics. Picture this: it's like he didn't just crack open a scientific door, he kicked it wide open, letting us see a whole new world behind it. But, of course, he didn't do this just by staring at equations. He did it by experimenting, by rolling up his sleeves and getting his hands dirty in the lab, every day. Let me give you a little taste of his breakthrough. Imagine Thomson, standing at his workbench, staring at the cathode ray tube. To everyone else, it was just a piece of glass. But to him, it was a whole universe waiting to be unlocked. The electric currents inside it weren't just flowing, they were carrying something. And that something, it wasn't just air. It was a particle. A tiny one, smaller than a hydrogen atom. And that tiny little electron, hidden in the shadows, would go on to change everything. Now, here's where things get fun. Thomson wasn't just discovering new particles, he was challenging the very core of physics. He said, what if atoms weren't solid little balls, but more like puddings, with electrons floating around inside like raisins? Yeah, you heard that right, puddings and raisins. It was a radical, almost ridiculous idea at the time, but it made sense. And while later scientists like Rutherford would revise that model, it gave birth to a whole new way of thinking about atoms. It was like a food analogy, but for science who knew that pudding could be a metaphor for quantum physics. And you know what? Thomson's pudding model wasn't just some fun idea, it paved the way for all of modern electronics. Imagine trying to make a phone call today without understanding electrons. Yeah, not happening. Thomson didn't just discover a particle, he laid the foundation for everything from the internet to smartphones, to every little device we take for granted today. Now, take a moment and think about it. Every time you pick up your phone, send a text, or have a video chat with someone across the globe, you're standing on the shoulders of Thomson's discovery. He gave us the key to unlocking the world of electronics, and today, it's part of everything we do. But that's not all. Thomson's discovery didn't just power up our gadgets, it helped spark the development of quantum mechanics and nuclear physics. You know how in movies, there's that pivotal moment when the music swells and you realize something big is about to happen? Well, Thomson's work was like that music cue. His work didn't just influence his era, it set the stage for the next revolution in science. And it didn't stop there. His theories didn't just give us a better understanding of atoms, they helped lay the groundwork for things like nuclear energy and radiation. Think about it: without Thomson, we might still be burning coal or oil for energy instead of tapping into the power of the atom. He didn't just change how we see the tiny world of particles, he changed how we power our homes and drive our cars. Thomson's discoveries were nothing short of explosive. When he revealed the electron, it was like dropping a bomb in the world of science. Everything exploded into action. And that little particle? It turned out to be the secret ingredient behind all the technology we use today, everything from smartphones to medical devices, and even electric toothbrushes. So, the next time you send an email, chat with a friend over video, or use a voice assistant to turn off the lights, take a moment to thank Thomson. Without his discovery of the electron, we might still be waiting for that first great tech breakthrough. Instead, we live in a world where information flows freely, thanks to the tiny particles he helped uncover. Thomson didn't just open the door to modern physics, he kicked it wide open. And now, every time you use your phone, type an email, or watch a movie on your TV, you're benefiting from the groundwork laid by his discoveries. So yeah, the next time you check your phone, remember those little electrons that make it all work? They're all thanks to Joseph Thomson, the man who turned the atomic world from a mysterious black box into a fully functioning science lab. Thomson's discovery was basically the foundation of modern tech. He gave us the key to electricity, unlocking a door to a world of endless possibilities. Think about it today, we rely on electrons to communicate, learn, entertain, and even make breakthroughs in medicine. What started as a tiny particle in a lab ended up being something essential in every modern life. From electronics to quantum mechanics, from nuclear tech to wireless communication, Thomson's influence is everywhere. His electrons may be small, but they've quietly and massively transformed the world. Every time you enjoy the convenience of modern tech, remember that Thomson, with his unassuming cathode ray tube, solved one of the greatest mysteries in science history. And this very mystery? It's the tiny electron that's now at the heart of our everyday lives. But Thomson wasn't just a lab genius. You might picture scientists as these laboratory-bound hermits, tweaking high-tech gadgets all day. But Thomson? Well, when he was a professor at Cambridge, he was kind of like the rock star of the physics world. His students' names like Charles Richardson and Richard Feynman became physics legends themselves. Ever heard of those guys? I bet you have. Richardson became a giant in quantum physics, and Feynman? He snagged a Nobel Prize. Can you imagine Thomson as the professor, leading these future stars in the lab, almost like a science version of a talent manager? Who knows today, when you read a famous physicist's paper, you might just be seeing a trace of Thomson, that bearded guy with his scientific tools, shaping the next big discovery. And his personal life? Well, it wasn't all about electrons and experiments. Thomson had a lovely relationship with his wife, Barbara Hopkins. Their 2 sons made up a pretty happy family. Outside of his science persona, he was also a loving husband. Imagine him coming home after a day of teaching and research, shedding the lab coat, and stepping into the gentle family guy role. And guess what? Thomson wasn't just an academic on weekends, he had a sharp sense of humor too. Picture this, he walks into a social gathering, and what does he talk about? Electrons, of course. And not just the boring stuff, he'd tell these funny anecdotes about his discovery, making everyone around him feel like they were watching a science fiction movie unfold. In his mind, if the crowd didn't quite get the science, no biggie. He just loved sharing those fascinating moments from his work. To him, science didn't need to be all serious, it was fun, and his humor was the perfect bridge to make people care. Thomson wasn't just the mad scientist in the lab, he was fun, approachable, and relatable. He took these complex ideas and made them accessible to everyone. That's the power of humor in science, it makes things less intimidating and way more enjoyable. And when you think about it, Thomson's impact goes way beyond the classroom and laboratory. Without him, the modern world would look completely different. No more smartphones. Forget about texting, video calls, or even the internet. Can you imagine using the old dial-up phones again? That's how life would be without Thomson's discovery. The technology you're using right now, whether it's for social media, gaming, or video calling, would be, well, stuck in the past. We wouldn't even have Wi-Fi signals working properly. Thomson's breakthrough is the root of it all. His discovery laid the foundation for everything from computers to the internet and even artificial intelligence. Without him, you couldn't scroll through your feeds, stream videos, or chat with friends across the globe. Think about it, each time you click a link, watch a video, or make a call, electrons are doing their invisible job behind the scenes, thanks to Thomson. These tiny particles are like the world's most efficient delivery system, zooming around, passing information faster than you can blink. Now, I know you might be thinking, electrons? Who cares? But if you've ever done a video call, sent a message, or even just surfed the web, you've interacted with them. These little particles are responsible for all those cool things we take for granted, things that were once unimaginable. Without Thomson, who knows what kind of tech we'd be stuck with today? Probably not much beyond the rotary phone. So next time you pick up your phone, don't just tap that screen. Pause for a second and think about the electrons at work behind your every action. Every message you send, every game you play, every photo you shared, those electrons are making it all happen. And Thomson? Well, he's the one who unlocked their power. He didn't just discover a tiny particle, he opened the door to a whole new world. Without his work, we'd still be waiting for technology to catch up to where we are today. In every little gadget and gizmo, Thomson's legacy lives on. He's the reason we live in a world that's fast, connected, and constantly evolving. So, remember, when you pick up your phone, it's not just a device. It's the result of a discovery that changed everything. And behind that discovery is one of history's unsung heroes, Joseph Thomson, the man who unlocked the electron and, in doing so, unlocked the future. The people who change the world usually just think one step deeper. If this story made you see things differently, hit like, subscribe, and save it. See you in the next story.